Howdy, and welcome to the Round Table for Red Dirt D&D. I'm Michael Cross.
I'm Konnor Shenold.
Johnny Payne.
I'm Brooke Bullock.
Brooke, it's me, and then it's you.
Oh, sorry.
We're doing this from home.
We
All
are.
right, screw it up.
Did we mention?
We're not
No, leave it in. Leave it in.
You know the Google the Zoom
no
boxes
editing.
are different for everybody.
And Ash
Leave
got
it in.
you.
There's no editing these.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ash. I'm here. Guess what, guys? It's a snow day in Oklahoma.
It is a snow day. Yeah.
Woo.
So if we all sound weird, it is because we are actually doing this over Zoom because we weren't certain what the roads would be like on the day that we would normally be recording. So we are pushing back the recording of our episodes. Not that you guys will notice anything. They'll still come out weekly. We're that far ahead. So we're doing fine. But we decided, just to be on the safe side, because it's freezing outside, the roads are probably wet, and who knows what they're like. And Curie has a long way to travel. So it just made us a little bit nervous, my wife especially. So we decided, hey, let's just do this over Zoom and still talk about all the stuff that we need to talk about, which is going through episode 78. And it's been a long, strange trip for the past year and a half.
It's been we have news. We have news.
We do have news.
Yay!
News. We reached 30,000 downloads
Woo!
all time
Yay!
in the waning days of 2021. 2021, which might go down as I'm not certain if it's. I think it might be tied for worst year ever.
Oh, God.
For everything but Red Dirt. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
The way I bookended those years, that year anyway.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's no. I mean, spoilers here. It's me. I'm
Sorry.
talking. I started the year off in January with COVID. I
That's right.
ended the year in December with
Oh
COVID.
no! Oh.
oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yeah, I
So-
think
You know, Johnny, it's not like game editions. You don't have to get everyone.
You don't have to collect all the variants.
Don't
It's
collect
fine.
them, collect them
You really
all.
don't. You really
I had to get it
not a
when it
good
was an
idea.
alpha test, and then I had to get the game of the year variant. And
He went through alpha, beta, delta, omicron.
Had to get the game of the year variant with all the DLCs.
Right.
Yeah.
included.
Luckily, after the first of the year, I patched my system, and so I could handle this new variant better.
Yay!
Yay.
Yeah, you got to get
Just
the
keep the
patch.
metaphor going. It's great.
Got to get the antivirus going, and so you're all good to go.
Oh my
Stop
goodness!
downloading things from the dark web, Johnny. It's a bad idea.
Hey, so much for
There's
NordVPN.
something
right?
about that. There's something about that we can't talk about yet, but next round table, we're gonna have to come back around to that. I think
Yeah.
that's
Put a
pretty
pin in that.
interesting.
A lot of life
That's right.
imitating art, etc., and the universe weaving its web and everything.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys caught this, but also not only did 2021 end us with 30,000 downloads, but December itself was our best month ever at more than 2,900 downloads.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
the realization of how much we're growing, and when thanks to Captivate, who is our podcast host. The great thing is I get to go look at what kind of is trending day to day, the most listened to episodes. And it's not always the latest episode. Sometimes it's episode 2, it's episode 25, it's
That's
episode
cool.
57. It's just, that means that people are going all the way back. They're listening through, and that means we have more and more people who are just now beginning to follow. So
They want to start from the very beginning
Yeah.
of the journey.
which is great.
And like for me as a storyteller, that's very personally validating
Mhm.
to say that, we have such a great story, and our plot lines are all weaved throughout. So people really do want to go back to the beginning and they want to see where it started and how it's going. So it's a very humbling experience, just personally as a storyteller, to see how people, they want to enjoy the entire experience. And
Mhm.
I think, and again, and that's one of the things, Michael, you and I had talked about back at the very beginning. And I know you have always kind of been of the standpoint of, it's fine. I want to build a story that people can kind of jump in whenever. But like, I kind of had a feeling just from our format, from the fact that we do those shorter episodes that are easier to binge.
Yeah.
So it's very easy and very accessible for people to go all the way back to the beginning and binge and get caught up to the latest episode very quickly without, feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to sit through 400 hours of content in order to get caught up all the way to the most recent episode. So,
and I think
I'm a little bit jealous of people that get to binge, because
Right?
I'm like, oh, I've got to wait until next week, and you can just you're behind, you just can catch up. Like, oh,
well, and then I'm also kind of jealous of people like I know the Texan is still working his way through. A couple of our Patreons are still working their way through, and I'm jealous of them because they are experiencing something for the first time that we haven't experienced for 4 or 5 months. And so it's really neat to go, oh, you're there. Oh, it's an exciting thing.
Yeah. One of our Patreon Germs said, how can I help with the 30? I was like, just listen to as many as you can, but listen enjoyably. Don't just, like rush it or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was great because I got to ask him, so where are you at? And he went, I just went back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's people who do that, that's just like, and especially with the way that we do storytell, in the fact that I do try to put in those callbacks, and I am a huge proponent of planting and payoff. Like this whole new, this new storytelling trend of trying to think of the twist that no one else thinks of. And there's so many articles that are coming out about how the writers for Marvel and Game of Thrones and all of these big budget TV shows, that they find out that the fans through deduction figured out, oh, are they going to do this because they've been building up with this, this, and this. And then they're like, oh no, they figured it out. Scrap it. That's not good storytelling.
Yeah.
No.
Subverting
follow
expectations became a pretty big deal for a while there. And you can see where it hurt, like Game of Thrones and such. Yeah.
Just let it. I think that's the thing that I love so much about what we do is the organicness of it, and we've made mention before, the couple of times that we try to plan stuff, it always backfires.
It never works. There's only one person on this panel who is allowed to plan. And they do a far better job than any one of us do. So,
and the secret cap is that I really don't plan a lot.
No, but you do, but you have an overarching plan that we just can't even fathom.
I have the outline.
Yeah.
And that's it.
What I think is also really neat for people who are following through is, if you listen to some actual play podcasts, you could go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes, come back in without listening to those episodes, and nothing's really changed. It's still the same thing over and over again. This podcast, this show, from the very beginning, we've added a whole new player character who was an NPC to start with.
And who brings a kobold out of a bag? I mean, come on, it's brilliant.
We've lost one player. Lost one character.
Lost a character.
Gained another character. If you were to jump right in, you wouldn't know. I think because we try to do the episodic, telling stories in an episodic way. Whereas I don't think a lot of actual play podcasts, mostly because I think they also tend more toward the comedy, and you don't really want to do things that are changing. You want your audience to constantly know, oh, the funny stuff's coming up. And nothing wrong with those. Several of them I listened to, but just with what we wanted to do, what Ash and I wanted to do from the very beginning was to make something that was going to constantly be evolving when we do eventually move on to do new campaigns, that even then it's built off of what we're doing right now, even though it might be in a completely different area. It's built off what we're doing right now.
Yeah. The events of this campaign, will become history for the next story. And, there will be callbacks, there will be moments, and it won't be that whole kind of pat on the back, haha, look how great we are. But, just from a natural storytelling element, like, yeah, the decisions that you guys make probably will have an effect on, the Black Hands Rail Company and how they're presenting themselves to the world. So if we ever go back to Venturis, we'll see some of that, depending on, if you get Jasper Smithson up and running with his stuff, that'll have an effect on the world in a big way. So
I hope so, because I got some great music for that.
Right.
Fly to the go, da, 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 da.
Which actually, that's the other thing that I'm kind of, you're talking about a humbling experience. If people are listening from the very beginning, my style has changed. My way of doing sound effects and music and editing and all that stuff has changed since the very beginning. So the neat thing is you get to see how much I grow as an editor. So Kiri, what do you think has been the biggest thing for you as Poppy as you've been growing?
What do you mean?
Well, like the way Poppy was at the beginning versus kind of the way Poppy is now.
Poppy from the very beginning when she showed up as a little boy and
I love Johnny. Go.
We talked about it last time. Following like Gideon's death, we talked about it. So this idea that she was, I don't want to like, in the beginning, she was of course very naive. And then as we went through kind of after anarchy and all of that stuff, she was less naive, but she was still very like optimistic and trusting of people and everything. After Gideon's death, she becomes a little less trusting, and we see that with her initial interactions with Gaz, and this idea of you can't, like, this family has worked really hard to get to the place where we're at, and you can't just like walk in and expect to be one of the guys, so to speak. That plus this idea, like, she felt very like jealous of him, and she has this conversation with Zonimus. She has this very jealous feeling that Gaz got to live the life that she wished she would have had, and that kind of stuff. And of course, Zonimus is like, isn't it so great that you're just adding more people to your family instead of looking at it from a place of jealousy? And I think that was a really good place for Zonimus growth as well. But I mean, and then stuff we can't talk about yet. She
secret.
Yeah. Well, there was
things that happen later on where she is very protective of her family, and she is faced with the possibility, of her family being hurt, and she can't have that.
Right. And we couldn't talk about a lot in the last roundtable with Johnny and Zonimus, because we already knew some of the growth that he was going through. But now, as we've gone to the Ghost Elves, as we've talked to them, and you've become the de facto leader of our group, which for Zonimus is not a role he really expected to play in this party.
Right, for sure. Yeah. So Zonimus's backstory begins before Wiley and all that. Zonimus kind of had the rogue and outlaw thrust upon him from something that happened at home. Something happened, and he took the fall for his father to protect his family and shield his sister, and then exiled himself.
That's brand new info for some folks right there. That's awesome.
Yeah. And actually, I've kind of touched on it here and there in some hallway conversation.
Did you say sister?
It's Mulan. He's Mulan.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. Johnny and I have definitely had hallway conversations about Zonimus's backstory, and it's one of those things that, like, I know what his backstory is, and it's just the fact of the matter that, like, there are these depths to him that just haven't been able to come to the surface because I just haven't found a way to work them in. Yeah. So
And again, if we force it, it's it won't work. But this organically is going to happen. But Zonimus is a softie. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
always been a softie.
So
It was always what was the act? The hard outlaw or the
And there's a conversation, I think, in either 75 or 76, maybe 77, where table banter for just a second. Brooke said something about, is that new wisdom Zonimus going to help out? And you responded with, that is new wisdom Zonimus.
Mm-hmm.
We've actually hit the 15-minute mark. So I know it's going by so fast. And so we have a lot. So we have actually so many patrons that we just can't thank them all anymore. It's gotten so big. It's been so wonderful. But we thank you all. They're going to be listening to the rest of this, where we're going to actually dive a little bit deeper into, especially episodes 55 through 58. Excuse me, 75 through 78. I went backwards.
Backwards in time there, Michael.
And so become a patron right now at reddirtdnd.com/patreon.com/reddirtdnd. I know.
Yay!
It's so weird because I'm doing this. I'm looking at you guys on a television screen or a computer screen.
Having to shift alt tab every so often to check some other things.
So go to patreon.com/reddirtdnd, become a patron, and listen to the rest of this. Plus, you get early access to our shows. You get them on Sunday instead of on Wednesday. You get access to our Discord server. We've also added some new content onto our Patreon page that only patrons get. So do that right now. In the meantime, we'll see you guys on the flip side, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about episodes 75 through 78 right now.